You've landed on The Substance. I'm your host, Philip Marinello, and I'm very excited to have you here for a special bonus episode on PanicFest 2025. Here at The Substance, we're looking to have conversations that help us all better appreciate goodness, truth, and beauty. Previous guests include folks like Film Spotting's Josh Larson, Marta Georgievich, actor-director John Carroll Lynch, Dan McCoy over at the Flophouse Podcast, and our friends over at Letterboxd, Slim and Mitchell. This week, we are looking back. If you listened to our episode last week with critic Zachary Lee, we mentioned PanicFest some. It was a phenomenal genre festival held here in Kansas City at the Screenland Armour Theater in North KC. It was a wonderful, wonderful time. At the end of the year, this will probably be one of my highlights of the year. It was a wonderful week of movies, of community. There were several world premieres. We talk about that some in the episode. And just a really wonderful celebration of the art of film, which, as if you've been listening at all for any length of time, you know is something that's very important to me. So it was a wonderful time. Wanted to both highlight how great the Screenland Armour Theater is. We've talked about that on the show back when we covered Raging Bull. Abby and I was able to introduce one of the screenings for that. So it's a place very near and dear to my heart. So I was excited to be part of PanicFest this year, and excited to share some of that with you, sharing some recommendations and letting some of the creators themselves promote some of their work. So on this episode today, you will hear Joe Lynch and Becca Howard, actor, producer. If you're a genre fan, you probably know who Joe Lynch is. Then there's also Justin Dickinson, a bookseller over at Rainy Day Books. They have a wonderful book movie club at Screenland that I enjoy quite a bit. Director Faith Liu, who actually ended up winning Best Director in the Shorts category. Indie filmmaker who just had his first, the way he put it to me was his first short film that he was happy to show other people. Peter Klausner, really cool young kid. I really enjoyed his movie. And then finally, director Daniel De Purgatorio. His film won Best of the Fest, Marshmallow, and he won Best Director in the Feature Films category. So going to be a really fun episode here for you. I will let you know if you're a regular Substance listener and you weren't necessarily expecting this. I hope you have a great time. I will let you know. Sometimes on our regular Substance episodes, we will edit if there's quote unquote strong language. With this one, I just didn't do any of that. So there's going to be a little bit of that here. So if you're listening in your car with your kids, just be aware of that ahead of time. So I hope you enjoy the show here and stay tuned afterwards for info about next week's show, or rather this coming week, since this is a bonus episode. This isn't starting yet. This is just me kind of side here. I love just how intimate PanicFest was. I'd heard a lot of people talk about it. I had a very, very small exposure to PanicFest last year, but this was my first time fully there. And I'm like, I'm going to be there every year going forward. That was amazing.
We were just going to be there as Paul Sorvino to be like, you pop your cherry. Hey.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, man. Okay, so Joe and Becca, you want to introduce yourselves for anybody who may not know who you are? No offense there. I'm sure a lot of folks are familiar.
This interview's over.
Well, of course, everyone knows Joe Lynch. He's the public.
Not everybody knows me.
The public facing of the two of us. I'm very shy, very, very private.
You're the one in the background that's just waving,
secretly programming behind the
scenes.
Or
possibly just the puppet master, and you have your hand up my ass.
Or Joe's the giant wizard, mechanical fake thing, and I'm the actual. I'm Jeff Goldblum.
Turn back.
Yes. Yeah, Jeff Goldblum. Frank. Ooh, wait, Frank. Lovejoy? No.
I mean the original
Frank
actor
Morgan. Frank Morgan. Oh, thank God.
Good pull.
From the original. I'm that guy.
Hey, put your phone away. Don't get on IMDb. What are you talking about? I'm kidding.
Anyone who knows me at PanicFest knows better than to assume I would ever look up a film trivia fun fact on my phone. I'm a stickler for pulling knowledge from your own brainwaves.
But anyway, Joe Lynch, Becca Howard, there you go.
Yeah, so we're filmmakers, and we've been a part of Panic Fest for the last 4 years or something like that, ever since the pandemic.
I had a slightly longer lineage with them because 2 of my films played at Panic Fest. There's the pre-pandemic Panic Fest experience, and then there's the post-pandemic Panic Fest experience.
That is true from what I've heard, yes.
So pre was me I'd been there before with Movie Crypt with me and Adam Green. Wrong Turn 2 and Mayhem played there. And then the first time that we had gone together was the year that was like the first year that they had asked me to come on just to curate a movie. And they were doing 1990 was the theme. And I was like, well, you have to show Richard Stanley's Hardware.
Yeah, and then after the pandemic, we started to come together as a team. At the time, I was doing a lot of special feature documentary editing for like labels like Vinegar Syndrome and Severin and such. And I was working on one for this seminal film, Surf 2. And Joe and I had never seen it before, and we got to experience being introduced to this bizarre, wacky, fun film together.
It was a 1-2 punch because you were working on it, and then Adam was like, well, we're kind of opening up Panic Fest again. What would you want to show? And it was literally in front of our faces. We're like, oh, Surf 2.
Yeah,
almost as a dare.
There's something really special as well that we were kind of discovering movies together as a couple for the first time, and it's a really beautiful thing about sharing that kind of, you know, intimate knowledge with someone intimate to you. And we felt that way about Panic Fest. It's always been very much more, instead of just a professional appearance thing, it's been more of an intimate family relationship.
Friends and family,
yeah,
definitely.
Really, especially with every year we go back, it feels more and more like a reunion. So we thought it was just an appropriate thing to start sharing films that were kind of deep cuts, I guess, that maybe they hadn't seen before, that we could like curate with them, blow people's minds, have massively pinioning wheels of different films from different corners of film history, and just like have a fun Friday.
Yeah.
That's basically what our date nights are like. And we just wanted to have a night at Panic Fest because that's the kind of vibe that Panic Fest has developed. It's just having a fun time with friends and family.
Well, Phil, you were there this year for Freaky Tales, right?
So no, that was the day that I was working.
All right. Well, that was the epitome of anytime that we watch one of the movies that we end up putting on the list for these date night movies.
Yeah.
Well, but like the part of the reason why we even think about them is we watch them, they blow our minds, and we go, we got to watch this with a crowd.
Like a B movie.
Yeah. Like, but
oh no, exactly, totally.
It's that feeling that I think a lot of us get whenever we discover a movie for the, and usually it's repertory films or it's older films, and you go, when am I ever going to get the chance to watch this?
Like, this is nuts. We need to do this like with as many people as possible.
Yeah. And we have the very, very lucky and fortunate opportunity where we can kind of set up a little mini screening with us and our friends, like a big Friday night. And
yeah, no, I'm buying so my only negative experience, well, that's not true. My biggest negative experience with Panic Fest was that I was not quick enough on the draw to get tickets to your guys' screening. But I forget what else I saw. I had a great time with whatever else it was, but I was like, man, that looked like a really fun time.
Well, what's funny, and Beck and I were talking about this even before we got this text from Adam, because that happened, and it's happened 2 years in a row. After we showed Thank God It's Friday a couple years back, it became no matter what's playing, you can't miss that because you're going to feel like you missed out the next day.
You missed out on the Cool Kids Club. Because, that theater's only like 60, 75 people. So it's like a tight little group.
The year we showed that, like the rest of the weekend, it would be the secret handshake. We'd be across the street and someone would scream out, "Thank God it's," and then we would go Friday. And it was just like this thing that you became part of the Cool Kids Club. And even though we were all a bunch of miscreants, the rejects, let's just say the rejects, like from It, we were the Goonies. We were the Goonies. We were the Monster Squad. There you go. We were, and that screen B is our treehouse. and we get to have on a Friday night.
No, theater 2 is perfect for that. It
Well,
really
that
is
was the point I
perfect.
wanted to bring up. Was Adam was like, maybe next year we need to move it into theater 1, and we're like, no way.
Yeah, that is better as like a 75-person deal than like a
I do feel
300-person
bad
deal.
though how many people said they couldn't get tickets, but it does just feel like because you kind of just want it to be like in your living room
Yeah,
kind of
and
No, I
experience.
think that was the right choice. So, like, for me personally, I didn't get to see it. I was bummed, but then I hung out with you guys for a couple hours the next night. I had a great time hanging out with
you know
everybody.
what? You got the
Uh-huh. Likewise.
live appendix version of
Yeah.
that night.
Oops, sorry.
Oh, don't worry. That's just our place is burning down. It's fine.
Yeah.
But like part of the reason why we would never want to go into theater 1 for the most part is like that's a great theater for other filmmakers to be able to get their films
Mhm.
seen on a big screen
Yeah.
and discovered, and it's a Friday night, and it's like who are we to like take that away from anybody? And there's nothing better than to, sorry to sound egotistical, but for us to go like we sold out, as opposed to
No, totally.
hey going like, guys, still got a few tickets left.
If for the egotistical amongst us, I don't really mind about that. But I am glad that people do keep coming back to it. But yes, I completely agree that because we're screening old like their repertory
Yeah.
There's a good
rediscoveries of like cult jams.
yeah, there's a
and
good
classics,
chance
so.
that whatever we show, there's going to be a few people who are like, no, it's like not
Yeah.
not for us.
Well, it's such a positive vibe. What I always take away from Panic Fest is that Joe always used to wax lyrical about Fantastic Fest, and by the time I finally got to go, I mean, not to, you
No,
know, the
I think the
festival
writing's on the wall.
well ever since the previous
Got
manager
too big.
of the festival left, it got quite corporate, and I've
Sure.
only known Fantastic Fest in this new version that it's having now, and it's a shame because Joe would talk about how in the early days they would just have these wacky, fun little sideshows and like experiences, and it was incredibly uncommercial and unvarnished and just like fun times, like you were just in a living room with your friends watching movies, and that's the kind of experience I feel like film festivals ought to emulate.
Oh, totally.
Wait, do you hear that sound? That's the sound of us never getting invited to Fantastic
Oh
Fest again.
no.
I
But
can edit that out if you
well,
like.
no. But the thing, I don't think anyone could disagree that
Yeah.
film festivals have evolutions. There is
Yeah,
that.
when they get big and corporate, they
And
necessarily can't be as intimate and creative.
exactly, that's what I think Becca is intoning, and
Yeah.
I would agree, is that there was a version of Fantastic Fest when I've gone a couple years now that was very intimate. It felt like, again, it felt like the Monster Squad. And then when they were predicated on, well, what premieres do we have to have from studios? The kind of punk rock quality of it went away, and then I think the festival directors would say the same thing. Like that we all have to cater to certain constituents, whereas Panic Fest hasn't quite gotten there yet, thankfully.
So
And
that's a good note, I feel like, to wrap up how we felt about 2025 Panic Fest, is that for the moment it's peak living room.
yeah,
No, it was incredible. It was an incredible week. And you guys stayed for a lot of it. Some filmmakers were only there
we
for
made
like
we
Friday,
made the
Saturday.
yeah we made the mistake of that a couple years ago when we like flew in on Friday, left on
It's not
Sunday.
always a couple years ago we were flying in from a
Work.
shoot in
Oh,
Mississippi,
from Suitable Flesh,
so
yeah.
we had to get back in time by Sunday. But whenever this year we didn't, I think you were able to take Monday off,
Yeah.
so we could stay. We
Darn near the whole
arrived on
time.
Friday, yeah, and then we got to stay for 3 whole nights, which we haven't been able to do in the past, and it's just the best way to do it because like otherwise it is rushed, and
Yeah.
you only ever get. We're very bad at hair of the dog, like
Sure.
the way that some people are able to just like morning
Just
to
rally
night, hand
through.
to and I'm not a rallier. I can do one good night, then the next day I'm a bit of a
Hangover.
mess. And then the day after I've rallied enough that I can go out again, but I can't quite do,
Can't do every night in a row. Yeah,
I
no.
can't do
I'm not
tail.
20 anymore either. Yeah.
Exactly.
So Joe, you mentioned Freaky Tales. For Joe and Becca, what were some of the standouts this year, whether features or shorts? What were some of the highlights for you as far as either the filmmakers that were there, or I mean, there was a ton of stuff that played this year.
Yeah,
It was a really good year,
this
honestly.
year was
the best year yet, I would
they've
say.
Adam and Tim do an amazing job
Mhm.
on the curation and the programming every year. This year though, and I think part of that is because we did stay longer. We were able
Yes.
to actually watch the movies where in years past we haven't been able to. And this year we got to actually, I mean, it's been a couple of years since I was able to watch the shorts.
I
And I
would
got to sit through
say,
2 shorts blocks and
yeah.
they were fucking
What was that
fantastic.
one short about the dick?
Oh, Banjo.
Banjo.
Oh my God.
That was my favorite short for sure.
That and Andrew Bowser's short
Yes.
was those two in particular were amazing. And
Definitely
they're great
seek those
discovery
out.
moments,
They're so
you know?
funny. Like, 'cause shorts are always, oftentimes a highlight reel feel
Yeah.
of the director's,
Or they come up with that simple concept because they're like, well, if this worked out for
Yes.
Lights Out, then it'll work out for me and I'll
Whereas
expand the
those
short.
two felt more like real.
Standalone.
Like, they were definitely, offering highlights of what the director could do, but they did feel like actual standalone offers on their own 2 feet, which I
Mhm.
enjoyed. And then features wise, I mean,
I know I have my likes.
I did love the director. We got to hang out with him a lot. So this, but this didn't color it because my favorite feature was Touch Me, and it's if you like
Okay.
emotional trauma horror with an emphasis on tentacle porn, then this is the feature for you.
That sounded very wild. I didn't get to see that one yet. I
It
think
was
I have a screener link for it, and I'm like,
Oh,
"Ooh,
it's
this one looks pretty gnarly."
if
oh my gosh.
I would actually say if you I mean, I don't think it has distribution at the time of this recording, at least that we know of. So
I don't think so yet. No.
it's the sort of movie that you would really want to see it with a crowd because
Mhm.
it
I
is
think
so
it won
experiential.
the crowd,
It did.
the the crowd prize audience
At
award
Overlook.
at Overlook
Yeah.
right after Panic Fest. It's just a really fun, because the sense of humor is super offbeat. So I think watching it with a crowd helps you kind of get permission to laugh because it's so dark in places.
And
as well.
there's plenty of what the fuck moments too that
Yeah.
you want to experience with
Very,
them.
very good Midnight Madness type film. And I was relieved because I'd already made friends with the director Addison by that point and then went to go see his movie. And we've
Yes.
spoken a lot.
That's
I
the
love,
two-edged sword of those festivals
yeah,
where you get to
so,
meet the people. You're like, "Oh, I hope I like it."
yeah, exactly. Because I'd already had a huge conversation with him over barbecue about like Japanese cinema, and we were talking about Imamura and you know Seijun Suzuki and our favorite directors. And I was like, oh gosh, he's really setting himself up for failure
Yeah.
because like all these big names. And then I
Talks a big game.
watched the movie and gave him the biggest hug and said, "Thank God
You were
don't
just relieved that you didn't have to say the requisite like
no."
it was
I know,
fun
because he would have been able to tell
Oh,
too.
yeah.
by
Yeah,
that
you'd be
point.
like, "Oh, congrats, you made a movie."
Yeah, I literally
Been
was
there.
like, "Oh, thank God you're talented." Oh, that would have been so awkward.
Jesus.
He was, well, I was being very honest. He was like, yeah.
Well, that's
Anyway, that was one, and then the other I would say is one that we actually didn't get to watch there. We watched on a screener link, but I loved as well, and wish we could have watched at the time. There was a conflict, I believe. But my other, then Joe can go with his 2 favorites. But my second is Marshmallow. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
I really, really loved the fear-based horror. I think there's a lot of that happening right now, and I've certainly been writing it into
Don't
my
give too
work.
much away.
And
Yeah, I'm talking with Daniel. I'm recording with him tomorrow, doing his Panic Fest highlights.
Tell him we said hi. But yeah, that like, damn it, you took my
Oh, sorry.
Well,
What are your top
no.
two?
Well, I mean, I was gonna say Marshmallow as well, but again,
No, everybody was talking about Marshmallow and Freaky Tales, the two that I did not get to
there
see.
you go. I'm gonna be a broken record then, but Freaky Tales is easily, as of now, my favorite movie of the year. It was a movie that did exactly what we were talking about with that whole Panic Fest feel about our screenings, where Adam had asked me to do the Q&A, and I had known Anna and Ryan's work, and I liked their stuff, especially like their Masters of Air episodes and the stuff that they even did like before Captain Marvel. So I was I liked their work. And I had heard about the movie and I'm like, man, that came out like a year ago at Sundance. Something must be up. And then Adam asked me to do the Q&A on a Saturday. And I'm like, oh, fuck, man, that's going to be the day after our screening. I'm going to be a wreck. I better watch the movie before just to be safe. So we watched the screener here. And the whole time, every 5 minutes, I'm like, I cannot fucking wait to see it with that crowd. Because the Panic Fest crowd is a brilliant crowd. they're the kind of crowd that you beg for when you do test screenings if your movie rocks. And what sucks was that Ryan and Anna were not in that theater, but the next day at the shorts, one of the guys came up to me and said, I don't know what the fuck you guys were doing at the Freaky Tales screening, but that sounded like a Motley Crue show, because every 5 minutes people were like screaming and yelling, and it was that kind of crowd response that you beg for as a filmmaker. And when we watched it here, I was like, holy shit, this movie's fucking amazing. But then you watch it with a crowd, and those certain moments, there's like the cameo of all cameos, and then there's moments with, you know, Sleepy Floyd at the end and with Pedro, and that you just, it's electric. It was totally electric, and I loved every moment of seeing it again and seeing it with a crowd the second time, where there was like all these little Easter eggs that I had missed the first time. So Freaky Tales 100%, Marshmallow, even though it was like after the fact, and then honestly the shorts. I think you know,
You
this
said
year,
you only got 2. I have
well,
to leave it
Marshmallow
a
doesn't
minute,
really
so
count,
I'll
you
just
know.
let
He's doubling up. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, those would definitely be my choices
If you would
for sure.
if you see our intro every year, you'll find 2 people with a microphone, and yet suspiciously only one voice coming out.
Wow.
Literally can
Therapeutic.
leave Joe on a microphone, and he'll be like, I'll be like, you have 10 minutes to finish this up. I have a heart out, and it's like an hour later. He's like, oh, I'll keep waiting for him to throw to me, and it doesn't.
Wait, so now I'm
I'll
going to
wait.
throw to you. And what do you think, Becca?
I already said what my favorites were.
Well, now you're just going to talk because I'm done.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for asking us what our thoughts were. Yeah, honestly, I'm so excited. Adam's already talking to us about what we're gonna bring next year. We already have like a short list going. We'll probably be editing it we've spent like months thinking about the movie that we
All
bring.
year.
love it.
We have a constant notes
Yeah.
app that's going on of like movies that we watch throughout
Poor
the year.
Adam is just because we always play such weird left field films. So Adam every year is like, maybe more like just straight horror this year, guys. And
Stop
we're like,
showing mullet,
Yeah.
mullet action movies like The Taking of Beverly Hills.
exactly.
Everybody like people talk about those all year. Like that's, and they sell out immediately. So
Well, we're thinking like,
you're doing a good job.
Phil, you're in the Kansas City area, right?
Yep.
So there is rumors going about that maybe we should be doing this one more time over the year, not just make it a Panic Fest thing, because not everybody gets to get in. So we're
For sure.
possibly thinking of coming back. Adam's already asked and said, like, what would you guys do if you did this or that? So I think there are plans afoot to do an expansion
we
off
love
of that.
you guys so
I love that.
and
Well, that's
any
kind of where our show
opportunity-
spawned from as well.
Yeah, any opportunity to just kind of hang out with people who love movies as much as we do, because honestly in LA you start to feel a little bit like a endangered species, because so many people are in this being like, oh yeah, awesome, but they don't actually like watch the movies obsessively the way that people ought to, in my opinion, who work in this
Yeah. From what I've heard, I've spent time there, not anywhere near like you guys. It is the idea of people see it as like a resource versus like being true appreciators. And yeah, sure, I get it. Like make your money, like take care of yourself, whatever. But it is wonderful being around a crowd like Panic Fest who is in it for the love of the game.
It's
It
not a
reminds us-
networking thing.
Yeah, it reminds us of why we're doing this and struggling to make ends meet so that we can put our art, our blood and sweat and tears into
And mullets,
into mullets, you know what I mean?
chainsaws, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Chainsaws, the work. So I'm hugely appreciative of Kansas City and all the love that you guys show us, and we love you guys right back, and I can't wait to come. I'm always sad every time we leave.
Oh,
so.
it's such a
Well,
bummer.
I will be there for whatever secret special showings you have next time. I'll promote the heck out of it. On that note, beyond that, and Adam rules. Like, free plug for, obviously this is all Screen Lane and Panic Fest are tied together, but Adam just curates such a wonderful vibe year round. Like tomorrow night, I'm seeing Deep Red. They're doing a 50th anniversary.
Oh, dude.
I've never seen an Argento in a theater. I've missed Suspiria like 20 times.
Yeah, but you know what? Deep Red with the crowd
It's
fucking
my
rips.
favorite.
Is it
I
with
cannot wait.
the Nightmare Junkhead guys?
Yeah, we're doing Friday Night Frights. It's the new 4K that came out like 2 years ago, I think, from Arrow.
You're gonna be in for a fucking
Can't wait.
It's so
Can't
good.
wait.
That movie specifically is so good with a crowd.
I'm extremely excited. Switching back to you guys, last thing beyond potential teaser for the Kansas City audience, what do you guys have out recently or coming up down the pipeline that you want folks to kind of be looking out for?
I mean, we talk about the show. Like
Yeah.
so last month we did a test run of a new show that Becca and I have been doing, which is kind of an extension of our double features that we just did at Panic Fest. The current title is A Couple of Old Fashions. We did 5 episodes. They're on the Movie Crypt Patreon network. They're not
Okay,
just audio.
Patreon, because I looked for them. I saw a bunch of people posting it, and I was like, "Where are these shows?"
You go,
They're
yeah.
difficult to
It's a pain.
find.
It's look, the
We're
Patreon thing
we're
is a fucking
changing
thing.
the format for sure if we continue it, but it's been a very pleasant
If
response when we continue it.
Because
jeez.
I checked the movie crypt feed. I just typed in the name of the show. I was like, "Where? How do I find this?"
Yeah, people are struggling.
It's a pain. But what the thing that came out of it, because the show is about us recommending each other a double feature. We watch the movie and then we reflect on it. They're usually secret. But the thing that we kind of walked away from it was we really enjoyed doing it. Like
Yeah.
That's
I'm
the best
honestly
type of thing to do.
I'm having such withdrawals from, yes, we were up at all hours of the night getting it all done and shooting it and putting it all together with everything else going on. But damn if it wasn't fucking fun.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
it is lovely to have something like that that ties into your Panic Fest appearances as well, because it makes it more of a wholesome, like what's the a cohesive appearance that
Yeah.
we like. We're sort of, that's part of what we're trying to do, is just show each other movies and show them to other people. So hopefully we continue that under the same basis, because you know it's fun to have that kind of a curational live
There's
experience
nothing
at
better
Panic
than to
Fest, and then
profess our love for our movies,
exactly,
you
so to
know?
do it, or to literally bring people into our living rooms rather than through the guise of a public appearance is, it's lovely. I love sharing that part of our lives. So
Mhm.
No, I
yeah.
look forward to checking that out, and hopefully we'll get season 2. So you'll find some folks to get that supported and going. Would love to
We'll
check that
probably
out.
find, yeah, we'll find it like we've been discussing other avenues of
Yeah,
where to put
but
it
watch
out, but
this space.
yeah, I would say. Other than that,
Beautiful.
yeah, just putting other stuff together and hopefully getting another movie off the ground soon.
Excellent. Well, guys, thanks for the time. Can't wait to see you either next year or sooner. Would be great.
You never know. We might be creeping around, with barbecue sauce all over our face, ready to fucking rock and roll again. So
Well, you got my number. Let me know.
you got it,
Will
sir.
do.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Phil.
you.
All right, Justin, welcome. You want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Justin. I am a bookseller at Rainy Day Books. I host the Don't Just Watch the Movie Book Club, which partners with the Screenland Armor Movie Theater, and we do a lot of really fun adaptations and then discussions about the books and the movies.
So I've seen you a number of times at the store. We've talked a handful of times. I really like what you guys are doing, especially with the little graphic novel corner finally over there. But yeah, so I wanted to talk a little Panic Fest. It was exciting to see you volunteer. You got to go to a lot of stuff. So just kind of generally, first question, like how was your festival experience? Any standout moments, people, places you got to connect with? How was your experience generally?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. I've worked at a film festival before. Back in like 2015, I worked at the Omaha Film Festival. So that was kind of my first experience with this sort of thing. And I loved it. And I didn't know that there was a horror film festival here at all, or that it was run by Screenland or anything. So as soon as I heard that we were able to volunteer for it, I was really excited to jump in. And I was out of town most of the weekend, unfortunately. So I caught kind of the tail end. I came in Sunday. I got to see Dooba Dooba and The Surfer. Loved
Yeah,
them
I only
both.
got to
They
see
were
you once or
awesome.
twice there. Surfer was a wild.
That was crazy.
So yeah, features, shorts. I don't know. So you're a volunteer. I don't know if you got the list of all the stuff they sent out to some of the volunteers. Like what stood out from what you actually got to see from the official Panic Fest films?
Dooba Dooba. I'm still walking around my apartment saying Dooba Dooba all the time. It was so much fun. That movie was crazy. It was really cool to see not authors, the directors talk about it right after as well. Because then throughout the rest of the festival, I saw them around, and it was cool to constantly just be like, "Oh, Dooba Dooba, them."
So I didn't get to go to that one. I forgot what I was saying, or maybe that was when I had seen. I think what it was actually was I saw a ton of movies that day, and I was a volunteer for like I was taking tickets for Dooba Dooba, and then they're
Mhm.
like, "Hey, you want to go see it?" And I was like, "Ah, I've seen like four features today. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
hang out."
And that was at
So
like
what?
10 o'clock. It was a lot
Yeah,
on a Sunday.
that was like the final show. And actually later on in this episode, depending on where this is, either earlier in this episode or later, we'll probably hear from Joe Lynch and Becca. I got to hang out with them and several other the
Oh,
filmmakers
awesome.
and volunteers. Yeah, we were just kind of chilling during Dooba Dooba. I was pretty movied out that day. So tell me about it. Like I know it got a big. I heard people saying Dooba Dooba all the time after the movie came out.
Yeah. So it's like found footage, kind of, but it's more security cameras placed around this house. And we're following a family who's had a break in and a murder of the son in the family. And as we have a babysitter come in for the parents to go have their date night, she's told that she has to say "dooba dooba" as she's walking around. There's a lot of kind of weird rules around the house because the daughter has a lot of anxiety problems, and it just
Makes sense why people were
spirals
saying it all the
quickly.
time then. So like that was just a constant refrain throughout the movie.
Yeah, just anytime you take a
Got
step,
it.
you have to say "dooba dooba."
Okay. Wow.
So that was fun.
Nice.
But the
No,
movie
that's
was
on my list
crazy.
to
Yeah.
that's on my list to catch up with. I really enjoyed hanging out with the filmmakers. I heard a lot of people it made an impression, so I'm
Mhm.
curious to catch up with that one. Did you get to see anything else you really liked?
I saw The Surfer. Those were the only two I was able to see this time, unfortunately.
Yeah, Nick Cage as always, giving it 110%.
Yeah, I'll watch really anything he's doing these days. I love it.
So that's one for me. I don't know. Nobody else has really talked about the Surfer yet, as far as because we're recording these probably all out of order. Like I think it's a good movie, but it was a very odd experience to watch because, and I
Yeah,
think that that was obviously like planned, but I'm kind of not sure. Like I understand the themes, I don't know if the movie had a point of view or what it was, but like I do think it was a good movie. It's
right.
honestly one of the movies that I've thought the most about because it like really stuck with me, but I'm not really sure what the perspective of the movie was because I was like,
Right.
I don't know if I like the perspective of the movie, but maybe I'm wrong because it seems like it's smarter than what it's presenting itself as, but also maybe not, and I really couldn't tell.
And I was really surprised by how contained of a location it kind of stayed. You're, like, in that parking lot most of the time,
Oh yeah, I
which
don't
I
think
thought was
it.
kind
I
of
think
really
if they
cool.
didn't land Nick Cage, I think Nick Cage is what gave that movie its production value.
For
Like
sure,
I
yeah.
don't. Yeah, I think if that was anybody else, I don't know if that would have screened anywhere.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I don't know, like light spoilers, I guess. Like I wasn't quite sure if they're like, oh, here's this kind of toxic structure that he has to like endure, but then he joins it. Like I just wasn't exactly sure what
Yeah.
it was saying, if anything. Cause like, yeah, we can be like, yeah, rituals and community are important and all that, but they're like, oh, here are these crummy guys, and now he's one of them. Like I
And now
just
he's one.
I couldn't
Yeah,
quite tell.
and that switch happened kinda quickly
Yeah.
when he suddenly kinda joined in the ranks. I thought his
And
son
then
was
I
really
don't
interesting too, how he actively wanted nothing to do with his dad the whole time.
well, and yeah, I'm not quite sure what was real and what wasn't, especially with how it ended. Like, it was just a very odd exercise. And honestly, for all those things that are unclear, I imagine it might be a movie that sticks around like in the subconscious cuz
Yeah,
it's very interesting movie.
yeah, for sure. I liked it
So
a lot by the end of it, I
nice.
feel.
Yeah, I had a really good time with it. And I think I liked it. I was like, I think this is a good movie. I'm not sure, but I think this is a good movie. But it
Mhm.
was a super great time to watch Nick Cage go all out, and they usually have one of his movies at Panic Fest, so was excited that they got that this year.
Yeah.
Did you make any cool connections like going forward? I know there were a ton of local people, a ton of out of town talent. I know at the bookstore, and you're kind of in the creative world. Did you meet anybody you got to connect with and really kind of click with?
I got to talk with a lot of people that work at Screenland more than I normally have. which is really cool because I feel like I spend a lot of time there. But to not know everyone's names or anything. I got to talk to Derek a lot. He was really cool.
Cool dude.
Yeah, he was fun.
And then yeah, you mentioned it at the top, but tell us about I've how long has the Rainy Day Screenland books based on a movie thing? How long has that been going? It's gone for several months now, right?
Yeah, we're nearing up on our first year. We started last June. It's really been
Wow.
such a dream to work with them. I've loved it so much. Yeah.
I know the next one
So
is Watchmen calendar wise, right?
yeah, we're doing Watchmen next month. Actually, next week is Matilda, Roald
Oh,
Dahl.
nice. My
Yeah,
wife is going to that.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm finishing the book today. It's very fun, very
I need to
cute.
go get that book for my bingo sheet.
Yeah. But the partnership with Screenland has been honestly such a dream. Getting to work with them has been so easy, so fun. It's always been kind of a dream of mine to do this kind of book club with, and to do it on such a cool scale, like with the independent bookstore of Kansas City and the independent theater in Kansas City. It's like really fun.
Yeah, no, those are both two places, Rainy Day and Screenland, like two of my favorite like local businesses since I've lived here for the last 12, 13 years. Like it's a very cool partnership and I'm very glad you guys are doing that.
Yeah, me too.
You got anything coming up? Like do you know what are the next few ones coming up? Have you guys announced any of those?
So we're still kind of planning some of this summer, but I'm wanting to do cabaret this summer. I think that would be really fun.
Okay.
We haven't done a musical, so I think
If
that
you're
would
ever
be
open to
different.
suggestions, let me know. I really
Please, yeah.
liked your John Wick and now Watchmen. I think History of Violence would be a cool graphic novel
Ooh,
movie.
yeah.
One of the low key Cronenberg masterpieces that not a lot of people talk about.
That is a good movie.
Excellent, man. Well, yeah, glad to have you on. If you want to plug anything else, does Rainy Day have any? You guys just hit 50 years.
Yes, this is our 50th year with Rainy Day Books. We opened in 1975, so we've got a lot of really fun things going on this year. Later this month, on Saturday the 26th, is Indie Bookstore Day, so be sure to come by, get your indie bookstore map, and check out all the amazing bookstores in Kansas City.
Absolutely. Well, hey, man, thanks for jumping on. Really appreciate you. And glad to just hang out with you when we were
Yeah.
able to as well. That was great connecting, man.
Yeah, nice chatting with you. Thank you so much.
All right, Faith, welcome to The Substance. You want to introduce yourself?
Hi, thanks for having me. My name is Faith Liu. I am the writer and director of the short film Sundowning, which was at Panic Fest.
And congratulations, it won. I'll brag on you here at the top. You won for the short form shorts for best director. Is that right?
Yes,
Because there's the short and long form.
we won. I think best, not best overall. That went to another really fantastic short. But we won best director and best lead actor. My lead actor is Ken Takamoto, who is, I think, maybe 92, 93.
He was phenomenal.
Oh, he's so great. But I had the enormous joy of texting him and being like, "You won an award!"
I may or
Which
may
I
not
love.
cut this out because we had a lot of filmmakers on the show, but between you and me, I did vote for you and him. I really did love your short.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
It was, and I liked a lot of it. Honestly, for the shorts, I still haven't seen one that I didn't like. There's one or two features that I was like on, and like one that I just straight up didn't like. But on the shorts, they were all like good to like really, really good.
Yeah, the selection at
Yeah,
Panic Fest was
they.
really fun.
Oh my gosh, they curated a wonderful set of blocks.
Absolutely. And just a really good mix of like horror comedy, straight horror, sorts of good stuff. I had a really, really good time. And it's such a great audience too, as well. Not just filmmakers, but people coming off the street.
It's
Um,
true. I love hearing so many people say that. I don't know where my conversation with you is going to be in the show, but so many of the out of town people said that, and as a Kansas Cityan and a regular Screenland attender, that's very gratifying to hear. So, just kind of at the top, yeah. What was your festival experience? Any standout moments or times? I don't know if you've been to Kansas City before, but kind of generally as a filmmaker who was showing their work at our festival, what was your experience like?
Oh man. Okay. Well, this is my first time having writing and directing a short and taking it out to the festival circuit. So it was a really eye-opening experience in that the first couple festivals I went to, I got to go with my team, with my producer, one or two of my actors, which was always a great time. Um, but this was my first time going to one solo, and I was a little afraid when I first started walking there from the hotel, like along the highway, and it was dark and kind of quiet, and I was like, "Oh, this is I don't know what I'm walking myself into. Like, what if I get murdered?" And then the closer I got, like you got the warm street lights, and then you just hear the buzz coming from inside the theater, and it was so warm and so welcoming. And the second I got in there, people were just so kind and fantastic. So I really feel like I found a lot more friends. Made like sounds so corny to say, but like made a whole nother little family there. So I had a fantastic time.
I'm really glad to hear you say that. Like I think we have an incredible audience and we're very welcoming, but it's always nice, especially like you said, when it takes a lot, I would imagine, to make something and then show it to a very large group of people, even if they're, um, I don't know, we have a really wonderful group of folks. But even if it's an excited crowd who wants to like something, you're putting something you made in front of hundreds of people. That's a lot.
Oh, absolutely. And I think even going to other festivals, there's a sense in which like you are usually not the main event when you're a short. So you don't really expect as many people to attend your screening, really. You expect people to really be there for the features, and especially Panic Fest having big features, having, a movie with Pedro Pascal, a movie with Nicolas Cage. You expect people to really go to those events, and you kind of fear that, like, is my theater going to be half empty? And it wasn't. Like, we got such great reactions, and most of them were not from fellow filmmakers trying to be supportive, which is a wonderful thing fellow filmmakers do, but they were from just like regular people, which is honestly just the most gratifying part, is knowing that we're reaching regular people and that those people are enjoying and being moved by the thing that we made.
No, absolutely. So on the filmmaker supporting filmmaker side, I'd like to know what were some of your standout things that you got to see. I don't know how many days you were here, but any shorts or features that stand out to you as, man, that was really impressive.
Ooh, okay. I saw so many things. Let's see, what did I find? Um Loved Marshmallow. That was a feature that played. I actually ended up sharing an Uber with one of the actors, the young actor and his mom
Oh, no,
from the
that was
airport. So
so
like,
great how all the kids were there. I thought
ugh,
that was just
they were
wonderful.
delightful and they were so good too. And it's crazy to see them and realize like, oh, it's been a year since they filmed and they've already grown so much. But that was such a wonderful, like, fun film to enjoy with a big theater full of people ready to laugh and scream and react. So I really enjoyed that one. And in terms of other shorts, let's see. This one I actually didn't get to see at the festival, but I had to follow up and watch it afterwards. But Ramon's film, Virgin,
Hmm.
that was incredible. Just blew me off my feet. Like, I'd heard of it from elsewhere on the circuit, hadn't had a chance to watch it, and as a practicing Catholic, when I heard it was, oh, it's like a dark take on um the birth of Jesus, I was like, oh, I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know how I'm gonna feel about this. And then I watched, I was like, is not only theologically pretty sound, like in a here's Mary's worst nightmare kind of way. Um, but it's one of those stories that gets you to think about scripture differently. It gets you to it, in a weird way, it forces you to think more deeply about faith and about that. And I think there were a lot of shorts that did that for me, where there were shorts that made me think more deeply about fatherhood. I think for some reason, one of the blocks I saw, there were like 3 back-to-back shorts on the terrors of being a new father. And I'm not remembering the names of the shorts, unfortunately, which is
So
terrible, but some of them were just
trying to think of the
unbelievably
ones that,
good.
so I didn't get to sadly see any of the short blocks theatrically at the festival. I
Mhm.
have caught up with probably 15-ish or so just digitally, and
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to work my way through
Yeah.
as many of them as I can. But yeah, Virgin was quite a ride.
Yeah, that was super fun. I'm literally looking right
Yeah,
now to
check
see if
your
I can find the
letterbox or
other
whatever
ones.
you saw, or
Um,
the
The
blocks.
Widower, I think, was one that
Haven't seen that one
really
yet.
that one's really worth it. It's a dad who has been widowed and he's left to care for an infant son.
Yes, I just saw
Um,
some. So I was searching the Panic Fest tags on Letterbox, and I
yes.
just read one of those. Yeah.
And it's he's dealing with the sleep deprivation and like the brain fog that comes from the combination of grief and also your baby hasn't been sleep trained yet and you're not
Whew.
prepared to take on any of it. And ooh, I'm so pleased that this is a topic that filmmakers are getting into. But man, I saw like 4 shorts about the terrors of being a new father and feeling completely out of your depth. And I was like, I love this. I love that this is a thing that we are actively grappling with as filmmakers.
Well, that is when horror is supposed to do the thing of like give you
Mhm.
the thrill, but it is also very uniquely seated to kind of give you like our brain like to kind of deal with substantive matters in a way that's a lot more palatable than like a direct drama or something like that.
Mhm. Exactly. And like so there was some really deep meaningful stuff and then there was some stuff that was just like out of this world fun. Like I'm scrolling right now. I'm just trying to remember the names of some of these shorts.
There were some
Mimic.
okay, that was
Oh, I
great. That
loved
was fun.
Mimic.
I think that would be a really fun feature if that could like there were several of them where I'm like, this could be a really good feature if it was like this they could write it up a
Yeah.
little bit bigger.
Mimic is iconic. I haven't really I think it's easy, especially for shorts where like you either kind of go with a monster everyone's seen before or you go with a monster that is just a little bit of a twist on a monster you've already seen before. Mimic was one where I was like, that's original enough that that could be its own movie.
And that I
Um,
mean, you don't want to go nuts, but like that could be like another like icon potentially
oh yeah,
because it is
absolutely.
unique enough.
Yeah, that I mean, and he brought the he brought the
He did.
head.
I really liked him. So yeah, he was and there were so many of you guys that I just really liked. And I was talking with earlier I was talking with Joe Lynch and Becca about this, and they had a similar experience. Like there were so many people like yourself where I met and I really liked them. And then I was a little nervous before I clicked play where I'm like, man, I hope this is good so I can not just like give it a heart and say, oh, great job. Like I can say, no, like this was really good.
Yeah, I know the exact feeling. A bunch of these people I remember meeting from previous festivals, in that like we'd seen each other at the fest, but maybe I hadn't had an opportunity to see their short yet, or they hadn't had an opportunity to see mine. And there is always that little fear of like, oh gosh, I really hope this is great. And honestly, after like the first 2 hours at Panic Fest, you're like, oh yeah, all of these are gonna be great. They don't miss. These people do not miss.
Um, and as a filmmaker, I know there were so many cool people. There were like a lot of good events. Were you able to make some new connections and kind of meet folks that you maybe you'll be able to do stuff with down the road?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there were a bunch of filmmakers I talked to. I have a horrific page in my notebook that is just the names of people that I met and what I talked to them about and what I have to follow up on. And my page for Panic Fest was I think like it is actually 3 pages long of just people that I met. I think a bunch of the LA people are getting together in a week or two
Oh,
to try
nice.
to because we didn't all get a chance to meet each other or hang out or hear more about what we all do.
I love it. So
Um,
you're an LA person, right?
yes.
Excellent. I connected. I over and over and over. I connected with Kika and Chris, and I'm talking with her soon.
Oh,
I
yes.
loved the Devil's Prism. I thought that was a blast.
That was fantastic. That was really, really fun. And they are such a fun duo.
Well, yeah, no, I there were so many people who I connected with as well, and it was such like an intimate experience. I cannot wait for next year. But until then, obviously, you have your short, yeah, award winning. Congrats again. But what would you
Thank
like to
you.
have people? Where would you like to have people check out your current, previous work? What do you have coming down the line? Like, what do you want folks to check out?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like I said, I've just started. So this is my first short. Hopefully not my last. But it will be going on Crypt TV sometime in the fall. We haven't figured out an exact
Very
launch date.
nice. I
Thank
love
you.
it. We had a festival earlier this year, late last year, that several of the really good ones are there. And I hadn't heard about Crypt TV until some of the Etheria shorts got on there.
Yeah. If I mean, it's bleh, sorry, verbal blah, blah. We got that through Nightmares Film Festival, which does a fantastic job promoting their shorts, and so we were very lucky to actually get distribution, which is something I never imagined was possible for a short. I kind of figured you just dump it on YouTube and call it a day because, again, very new to this. I know nothing. So we're very fortunate. It'll be going online in the fall. Until then, I am continuing to work and write at the feature version of it, which is what this was. Sundowning is a proof of
Yes, I'm
concept
so
for a feature
excited.
film. Thank you. So I am continuing to work at that, and then hopefully once I'm done with that, we'll be sending to a couple folks I know in the industry to get some notes, get some thoughts, and see if we can get that on its feet. And I will have my hopefully directorial debut.
I love that. I cannot wait for that. I'm so excited. Yours was one in particular where I'm like, man, this would be a great feature. So
Thank
very
you so much.
excited to cheer you on for that. Look forward to getting to see that maybe next year as a feature.
I would love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Faith. All right, Peter, you want to introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, hi, I'm Peter Klausner. I'm the writer and director of the body horror short Stomach It, which was just screened at Panic Fest a couple weekends ago. And it's also screened at various other festivals like the Nashville Film Festival, Scream Fest, Horror Film Festival, Morbido Fest, and several others as well.
Hitting the circuit hard. I like it.
Yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun. I've never gone to a film festival before, so it's just been a lot of fun just going to various festivals around the country and just meeting a variety of different people, and also just it's really cool just getting to view my project in different cities and just see what the audience reactions are like. And yeah, I think Panic Fest was my favorite festival experience thus far. I think I've been to 4 festivals in person.
Nice. Yeah. My first question was just going to be broadly, how was your festival experience? Any standout moments, people, places you visited while you were in town? Like, what was it like for you here screening at Panic Fest?
I really loved Kansas City. I'd never been before. Obviously I'd heard about the barbecue. The barbecue was fantastic. Q39, my producer Tori and I went to. That place could not have been better. It's delicious. Stayed at a great hotel as well. Just a beautiful town, and just had such a great time at Panic Fest. And I think that's because I just met a lot of really authentic, awesome people like yourself who are just true genre fans and horror fans. And I don't know, it's just I loved just the idea of just people that live in Kansas City, maybe other places in Missouri, and just coming to this festival just because they love and appreciate the genre. And it just felt like a festival run by fans for the fans. And the networking was also just so personable, and just the way the festival was great. The Rewind bar was a lot of fun. I think that's where you and I first met.
That was a blast. Yeah.
Yeah, that was so much fun. It honestly kind of felt like I was in, like, I don't know, like a cousin's basement in the Midwest in the best way possible. It just felt very personable. It was just a bunch
That's
of
exactly
yeah.
Adam's vibe. He's like, yeah, this is me and my best friend's basements from the 80s and
Mhm.
90s. Like that was the whole point.
Yeah. The programming in the festival also was just really, really awesome. I went to a shorts block. I saw I went to the shorts block one. I think I went to long form shorts. I saw some features. Just really loved what I saw.
So yeah, that was my next question. Particularly, what features or shorts from Panic Fest 2025? What did you see? What did you like? What resonates with you? Maybe like 1 to 3 things that you really enjoyed.
hmm I liked the surfer a lot.
Because you saw a lot of the shorts, right?
Yeah, I saw a lot of the shorts. I saw so
That was
long
wild.
in terms of the first. Let me see, shorts block one. I'm trying to remember what was in that section. Yeah, I think honestly, the short that stuck out to me, one of the most from the whole festival, was Norma. I thought that short was just completely hilarious. Like the opening of her in the car. I think she's like rapping, drinking a slushy or something. Tori, my producer, and I when we first saw that, we were just like dying of laughter. The comedic timing in that was just fantastic. I loved just the concept of like, someone who is killing people because they're falling in love with you and you are scared of that, and you're just and trying to having that like kind of like inner dialogue with the people that she's the men that she's killed. Nicole Byer is just fantastic in that. In terms of long form, I would say I really liked Destroyer. Destroyer was really cool. I also liked the one starring the actress from Hereditary. That was cool. Freaky Tales was probably the standout from the whole festival. Just the audience reaction from that was just amazing. I haven't honestly had that many theater experiences like that before. Just to have just the enthusiasm. That was another thing about the Panic Fest crowd in general, was just the enthusiasm in the crowd for every screening, specifically Freaky Tales. I know I spoke to some short filmmakers who were were screening in the other theater, and they were just saying how loud it was from the Freaky Tales screening. That was just a blast, because it just, theater experiences are so important, because it's like you really feel the sense of community, especially at a genre festival like Panic Fest, which is just a bunch of genre nerds like myself. And yeah, just that enthusiasm is just so meaningful and powerful. And honestly, I haven't seen a festival crowd that enthusiastic before.
Absolutely.
It was wild, man. Like people were going nuts for a lot of the projects, specifically Freaky Tales, which I totally get. The Surfer, I had a lot of fun with as well. That was just wild. I love when Nick Cage is just going just completely nuts. I love how much he commits. And, just Adam and Tim as well just do such a good job of, it's of just putting on a festival that is catered to the fans at its core. And in there, there's great networking, but it doesn't feel like this kind of forced industry type of festival. It all feels so authentic. And that's really the word that I keep thinking of with Panic Fest, is just authentic. Another thing also, just to note, non sequitur, I loved walking around the neighborhood, the residential neighborhood around the theater after screenings. When I was walking around those residential neighborhoods post screenings, it felt like I was in one of, like Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, one of the slashers, probably because I was scared. Not because the neighborhoods weren't scary literally at all. It was just because it was eerily quiet, very serene, but it kind of, the neighborhoods kind of reminded me of some of those like classic slashers I grew up on. And I mean that in the best way possible. It was just very atmospheric. And yeah, another thing is just, in LA, when you're walking around, people don't always say hello. And when I was walking around Kansas City, everyone was saying hello, and it was just very friendly. And I'm not used to that. Tori and I were just we both grew up in LA, when we weren't used to the kind of personable.
Got that good
Yeah,
Midwestern hospitality.
just another thing too, just packed theaters for every screening. It was wild. Like, you don't always have that at festivals, because I think it can be challenging sometimes to get people to go to see like a shorts section, for example. But
There's nothing like a packed theater.
There's nothing like a packed theater, especially for like a shorts block. Like, that just meant a lot to me as a filmmaker, to see all these people. Like, our screening, I think, was technically sold out, and it just meant so much to me to just see people with their popcorn. They're just sitting down, going to see some screwed up horror shorts. And I don't know, it meant a lot to me to see that enthusiasm, because it shows that they're not just interested in you know the horror features or the genre features. They're also interested in seeing what the up and coming filmmakers are making in short form. And yeah, that meant the world to me. I truly cannot wait to come back to Panic Fest with my next project. Panic Fest is going to be a festival that I'm always going to want to return to. And just meeting great people like you meant a lot. When you were in your David Lynch shirt, I think that might have been was that day 2 or 3? You were in your Lynch shirt.
Maybe that was day 2.
Maybe it was day 2. When I saw you in that, I was like, okay, this is my place. Like, I am obsessed with David Lynch. And I saw your shirt, and saw a lot of other cool merch as well. And I was like, these are my people. Like, these are the types of people I'm meant to be surrounded by in my life.
I saw you saw my Letterboxd log. I unfortunately didn't get to catch any of the short blocks, because I either had features that I had tickets for, or I was scheduled to volunteer
Mhm.
for various roles, but I caught up with several of them. I really liked you and your producing partner, so I wanted to catch yours, and I didn't know what the premises of any of them were. And I actually work in the restoration cleanup world, and I just thought, I was like, wow, I was really impressed with it personally. So if you want to
Thank you.
talk about that project or anything else have going on here, this is kind of your moment to talk about what you'd like folks to go check out.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah, I started reading about crime scene cleaning a few years ago, and I started researching a bunch of different types of crime scene cleaning companies around the world. And the thing I noticed was the basic qualification you need to do that job. And then pretty much the basic qualification was listed for every company. It was the same qualification, which was you need to have a strong stomach. Literally every company I saw had that qualification, whether the company was based out of Australia, Mexico, somewhere in the States, etc. And I just thought that was that's a very interesting term to me, because it's like, okay, you have to be able to emotionally detach to do that job. You have to do that to be able to, like, psychologically, to be psychologically sane. You have to be able to stomach the job. But it made me really think about that term. What does it mean to stomach trauma or your emotions in some way? And that I kind of resonated with that, because it made me think about how I can stomach my own emotions and my own anxiety. I'm a very anxious person, and this short was very cathartic for me, because it was kind of me confronting some of my fears and anxieties.
There you go, man. Well, good to have you. Hopefully, see you next year either way.
Yeah, for sure. And let's definitely keep in touch.
Well, Daniel, welcome. You want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, I am Daniel Del Purgatorio and made a film called Marshmallow.
A film that won best feature film at Panic Fest, and you yourself won best feature film director.
Yes, yeah, super crazy. Yeah, very crazy. Unexpected, but amazing.
It was a wonderful time getting to meet you and hang out with you at Panic Fest. The first question, real kind of softball, just generally, what was your Panic Fest 2025 experience? Any standout moments or places? I don't know if you've ever been to KC before, but how was your experience?
Yeah, I've never been to Panic Fest before. I've had a couple of short films play there a couple of years back. This was my first time going, and it was amazing. It's definitely standout festival. It was just so cool to be around so many people that were um, into film. And everybody was just so happy to be there. And it's like you would go watch a movie and you'd come out for a break, and everyone would just get together and start talking about the films that they saw, other films, and would just nerd out. And then they go back into the next movie, and people were there from like morning to night every day of the festival. And it was really, really cool. It was a hard time leaving.
It was
I had a
pretty
hard time.
wonderful, and the post Panic Fest blues were definitely a thing.
Oh, it was bad. I got home and I was like, okay, that's it, huh? And I was like super, super bummed. I haven't had an experience like that for many, many years, and it was really cool.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing you 2026.
Yes, I was telling some friends, I'm like, I cannot wait to go next year just to go and watch movies and just hang out. It was fun.
So, besides your personal experience, what else did you see, whether it's features or shorts? Anything kind of stand out as you look back to Panic Fest this year?
Yeah, I went and I saw a bunch of movies. I saw almost all the film blocks or of the short film blocks. I love short films. Like as I mentioned, I've done a few myself, but I really like being able to experience 10 or so movies in a row, just from different perspectives, different styles. I think it's always really cool. And honestly, those were some of my favorite because it showed how insanely talented people are all over the place, and how good shorts look now compared to where they were 10 years ago. Like every year they're getting better and better. And this year I was just completely blown away by almost every single one that I saw for one reason or another. It was really cool. And then I saw, a bunch of films as well. I really liked Dua Duba. That was one of my a real standout. It was the last film that I saw at the festival, and it was really cool. Such a unique experience, and I like that.
As I'm recording with several people, one of the other persons that I recorded with a few days ago, they were saying how much fun Duba Duba was, and then that was kind of like a call and response for the rest of the fest.
Yeah, yeah, it was weird because I had seen and read about it, so I knew what it was going into it, but it was way different than I expected. And for like a quote unquote found footage type movie, um, creatively and editorially, they took a really just a different approach to it, which was cool. Um, and the performances were just damn good, like really, really good. It's very, very rare do you watch that type of a film where you feel the performances are effortless, and they were definitely, yeah, it was cool, very cool experience.
No shade, especially if any filmmakers are listening. No shade to anybody who didn't get mentioned because there were dozens and dozens and dozens of shorts. But do you have a top 2 or 3 that kind of really stood out to you?
Yeah, so I really loved that one. I loved What Happened to Dorothy Bell. I think that was it, right?
That was fun.
Yeah, that was really,
That's
really,
probably the scariest, in my opinion.
yeah, it was. It was really cool. Again, it was found footage style film, but very different than Duba Duba in the sense that I mean, they were
Oh
on
yeah.
opposite sides, which was really cool to again see like a similar theme in terms of found footage, but being executed very, very differently. And then also uh, different response, like a much different response on both of those, which was really cool. I also saw A Hell of a Summer on Thursday night.
That
Um,
was a fun opener.
yeah, really fun opener, and obviously we have a summer camp horror film, so it was cool to I'm excited that the summer camp horror thing is there seems to be a boom in that again right now, which is really great, and it was nice to see that film. It's very different than our film in every way, but that was a lot of fun. So yeah, I think those were some of the ones that stood out. On Saturday, to be honest, I didn't watch any movies because our film was playing, and I was kind of a mess about preparing for that. So I didn't, I just knew I wouldn't be able to enjoy anything uh, leading up to our film. But
Had
yeah,
it played before, or was that the
that was
premiere?
yeah, first time, first
Oh
time.
man.
Yeah, very. It's just a unique experience, coming out of the gate with it and people seeing it for the first time. So it took a little bit of lead in to get into that, headspace.
Yeah, first half of Saturday I had my son's birthday, and then the second half, I got to go to the fest as volunteer and half press. But yeah, I was doing my volunteering in the second half, so I missed Marshmallow. But I was so bummed because you guys went all out, like the marketing team. You had a lot of the cast and crew, and it just seemed like just everybody had a great time creating it, and the audience just had an incredible time watching it,
Yeah,
as evidenced by you guys won the audience award.
yeah, it was lots of fun for sure. We definitely had a blast making the film. And you know how it goes, like you work on something, anything, any kind of art, whether it's music or, a painting or film for so long, you I don't want to say lose perspective, but you're close with it. You know what I mean? You kind of have your blinders on, you're doing your thing. So, to eventually take those off and present it to the world is a exciting and nerve wracking time. So yeah, this was the first time that, and this was like the first time that not only people but like horror people were gonna see it. Um, so
It's a
yeah,
pretty great crowd. I mean,
oh,
if I
amazing.
ever made a movie and got that over the finish line, I feel like both Panic Fest itself, but also just like the Screenland Armor crowd, we're a genre loving bunch, and just honestly, so many wonderful people there.
It was great. I've met so many people, like tons of people that I've been talking with regularly
Yeah, I
since.
was gonna say, did you get to connect with some, whether it's either talent or critics or just people who you liked and maybe spark something down the road? You get to make some good, meet some good folks.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. A lot of people. I mean, I've been chatting with people every day, every
I,
single day.
I almost have as well. It was
Yeah.
such a good time. And you're in Canada, right?
No, I'm in Chicago.
Oh, you're in Chicago. Okay, well, maybe I'll hit you up. I am working on actually. So I might even cut this out. I yesterday I did a full episode. So we have the normal episodes of the show. About 2/3 of them are movie episodes, and yesterday I interviewed a Chicago critic, Zachary Lee. He writes
Oh,
for
okay.
Roger Ebert. He just had the big RogerEbert.com interview with Ryan Coogler. So we covered Fruitvale Station, and I know a lot of critics in Chicago, and I am trying to plan a Chicago trip soon. So
Let me
I'll
know.
hit you up. I thought you were Canadian. See,
Yeah,
I just met so many people
yeah, we
that
all blend together, after a while.
you were just so nice. I was like, oh, he must be Canadian.
That's it. Yeah, it's a Canadian personality.
Um,
Yeah, if you ever come this way, let me know for sure.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, so we talked a little Marshmallow, but what's kind of the elevator pitch for listeners who may not have heard about it or have kind of generally heard that it's good and fun and exciting? You want to tell some folks about it? Kind of get them excited.
Yeah, so Marshmallow is a coming of age horror sci-fi film following Morgan, who gets sent to summer camp. He's having a hard time finding his place in the world, and getting to camp is not much easier. But when he kind of connects with this ragtag bunch of kids, things kind of go off the rails, and they band together to try to make it through the night. So yeah, that's the film in a nutshell. Like I said, it is definitely playing on the tropes of the summer camp horror films. But we tried to do something different with it, and sort of bounce between genres and introduce some fun themes to it. Yeah, very exciting.
Well, I love a summer camp slasher horror. I'm very excited to see it myself.
Yeah.
And just congratulations on all the accolades I'm seeing you getting from. It's playing all the other fests, and it's opening. I don't know if it's exactly opening widely. It's opening in little pockets around the country, and I'm seeing the reviews come in, and I'm very happy for you and your whole team.
Oh, thank you.
Especially like you have so many like young talent. Like what an exciting project to kind of all do together.
Yeah, yeah. It opened on the 11th, and we hit theaters nationwide, limited theaters, but nationwide. So it's been in every market, which has been awesome.
Love
And
it.
yeah, the film, yeah, a lot of young actors and kids. We had a lot of them. They were pros and super fun to work with. And we also had an amazing, you know, adult, a collection of adults in the film as well, who played and acted really great against the kids. So it was a fun experience for, watching through the eyes of 12-year-olds, but then also being able to watch it from, the eyes of an adult. And that's why I love the script, because when I read it, I very much related to that sort of coming of age story, which is, through and through the main beat of what we're going for. But I also was able to relate to the film from a parent's perspective, having kids myself. There was something that I connected to emotionally with the movie. So I got to, not only make it from those two perspectives, but enjoy it from them as well.
Well, love it. Congrats on all the success, and look forward and to hopefully see you next year at Panic Fest.
Absolutely. I will be there for sure.
All right. Good to talk with you, Daniel.
Oh, thanks so much.
So there you have it. Panic Fest 2025 recap. Like I said at the top and throughout the show, it was just the very best time. So if you're in the Kansas City area, be on the lookout next year, 2026, for Panic Fest. It's going to be an incredible time. Get your tickets. I'll try to promote the upcoming things that I think look cool as I hear about them. The very best way to support shows like The Substance or any other independent show that you love is to listen and share them with your friends. Text your friends. You got anybody who really loves movies, and say, hey, like there's some cool stuff here. Check it out. Message, DM, text your friends about the show. That's always very helpful. Or on social media, whatever you're on. I think Instagram is pretty much the main place we're on. I'm personally on Blue Sky. I've got a Threads. I still haven't deactivated Twitter yet, but basically off all that. But on the gram, but yeah, share it up with people. That's always helpful. And if you want to show us a little bit of love and have a couple of extra bucks, you can do that on Cash App, $ The Substance Pod. Not asking anybody to join the Patreon right now as we're revamping that. But if you want to throw a couple bucks in the tip jar, help us keep the lights on and make little stickers and flyers that we put out around town advertising, you can do that over on Cash App. That's $ The Substance Pod. If you have an idea about regular Substance episodes or substantive cinema episodes, or honestly, if you have any thoughts about this, you can send an email or email us a voice note over to thesubstancepod@gmail.com. And we're looking forward to hearing from you. And if it's a short and sweet voice note, we may put it on a future episode. As far as next on the show here, this coming Monday will be my conversation with Reverend Joseph Yu. Had a phenomenal conversation with him that I'm excited to share with you guys. So look for that episode this coming Monday if you're listening to this episode when it releases. So until then, I have been your host, Philip Marinello, and we will see you next time on The Substance. To make sure we're good. All right, say some stuff. What kind of mic are you guys using, by the way?
We're just using the laptop. Sorry.
Okay, no, you're fine. You guys have got a healthy sound wave there. I can
You have a really
absolutely.
nice band. It looks like we have nothing. What the fuck? Like,
Yeah, we're
I'm having wave envy. All right. Well, as long as it sounds good to you.